Hello, everybody. It is me, Demetra K. And there's Donovan, the recovering Democrat, also known as Ike, on the show. And we call him a whole host of other things. But today, we'll stick with the recovering Democrat. We'd like to welcome you to Free Flow Friday, where we talk about everything you can think of for the most part, right? Because sometimes we got to, take a step back from certain things for YouTube and Facebook purposes. But we're pretty open here. Also like to say a big giant thank you to Marcus Guyton for everything he does behind the scenes and making the show go further, and to YouTube and Facebook, the other side of the conversation, where we cannot and would not do this without you. We should also say that on this show and my show, the Demetra K Show, we make it a point to read every last comment, question, and concern, because we feel like you should be heard as well, opposed to just sitting there and watching Donovan, because I don't really, ramble on. But Donovan, both of us are actually ramble on, and so we want you guys to be included in the conversation. But if you could do us a favor and share this live so that everybody else can get the information and join in on the conversation, we will greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. And Donovan will dance at your wedding. He has a mean, funky chicken, I'll tell you that much. Hey, Robin, how are you? So Donovan, what say you before we get started? I just want you to see that we are talking about what's it gonna cost me. Of course, that's a loaded topic. And then where is our bill? And I'll let Donovan take that one. He liked what I said. I'll let Donovan take that one. This is the Ike and Tina show reversed. Tina is now in control. So I tell Donovan / Ike what he can and cannot do around here. I'm just kidding. So anyway, Donovan, what's going on before we get started?
Well, Tina, the songs all sound the same. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't really mean any. They just sound the same. Things are changing anyway. What? Say what? Hey, you guys. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in to Free Flow Friday. And again, it's Friday. We made it this far. A lot of stuff going on. And what we really try to do in this show is we try to do a recap as well as the news that is going out. And I'm just going to make it real quick so we can stay ahead of these comments, is the fact that, please, you guys, I need you guys to put your caps on, share, subscribe, and like, and put your reminder on. The great Al Jackson will be on the War Zone tonight. And I'm going to tell you, this man should have been a comedy writer, much less have his own sitcom. But he's going to be on the show tonight. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm telling you, the man is sarcastic out of his mind. So tune in for that. And, let's get to these comments, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. And we want to share it with you and get some of your ideas as well. Because this week, based on all the shootings that continue to happen, I have learned a lot, not from my own research, but from other people's opinions. And that's what we try to do, exchange of ideas in a conversation. So, Demetra, let's get to it.
All right. So hello, Georgia Rose and Randall. Yes, Ike and Tina. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, if you guys could share, we most definitely appreciate it. So the first part of this show, thank you. Thank you, Randall. The first part of the show, okay. First part of this show is called "What's It Gonna Cost Me?" All right. And so I always ask myself and everybody else that I work with, the people just that I know, what's it gonna cost you? So that basically means, what is it going to cost me if I get upset, if I say something to somebody that I'm going to regret, or I can't walk back, or, anything really negative, right? And so I always ask, is it going to cost me a relationship, whether it's, romantic, a family relationship, a friendly relationship? Is it going to cost me a relationship? Is it going to cost me some money? Is it going to cost me some time? Is it going to cost me to lose sleep or anything? So what is it going to cost me? So why am I asking that question? All right, so guys, as you guys know, this past week, we learned of a shooting of a 16-year-old by the name of Ma'Khia Bryant. She was shot by a police officer there in Ohio. Now, originally, most people just saw the body cam. Now, the police station or whatever, they released that body cam relatively quickly because they felt like, they were in the right for shooting 16-year-old Micaiah 4 times in the chest. Now, of course, you guys saw the video. You saw her, with a knife, and she appeared to be anyway chasing people around the yard with the knife. All right. And so from that point, a lot of people drew a whole bunch of conclusions and speculation as to what happened. And a lot of our people, unfortunately, deemed Micaiah to be in the wrong and said that's what she deserved, that she deserved to be shot and killed. Okay. So, of course, as time goes on, we learned that, things maybe weren't what we thought they were. So from what I understand up to this point, Micaiah called the police because those 2 girls, and the one that was in a pink sweatsuit, she's actually an adult. So those 2 women that you saw in the yard running around, if I understand, they're like 28 and 30. Now, they used to be foster children of the foster mother that Micaiah lived with. Okay, if you guys are following me. So they went over to the foster mother. Her last name is Moore. I don't know her first name. They went over to her house. It was her birthday, right? And so as the 2 older women were there, they were getting on the other teens about keeping the house clean and making the beds and, that kind of stuff. So it seemed like an argument took place from that point, and it got physical. And that's when Micaiah, from what I understand, called the police. Now, the police haven't confirmed that it was her, but if you put 2 and 2 together, it was her, because she says they came over here and they're trying to, they got knives or something to that effect. I don't remember offhand the verbiage. So anyway, and then she called her father, Herbie and Micaiah, because it sounds like the police was taking a little bit too long to show up. And so that's how they ended up outside. I guess maybe they were running outside. I'm not really sure how it ended up outside, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that's how Micaiah and the girls ended up in the adults, the women, ended up in the same space, because originally the women were in the house. Because a lot of Monday morning quarterbacks have said, well, Micaiah shouldn't have came out the house, and why did she let them in? And so they already had access to the house, being that was their foster mom. So I guess they still have a relationship with her. So that's what happened up until this time. And so what is it going to cost me? Now, I'm not really for sure how telling somebody to clean the house and make up the beds and all that ended up into, a 16-year-old being shot to death. But I don't know, maybe it was a way that they said it, or did they have any standing in that household to be telling those girls what to do? I mean, there's a lot of things to be questioned. But when I learned more about the story, I said, wow, that's a prime example of not knowing how to speak to one another. Because, I'm big on communication, okay? That's a consequence of us not knowing how to speak to one another. It will cost you something, right? Whether you're in an argument with a loved one or your boyfriend, your girlfriend or whoever, and you call them a name or you say something that you can't walk back, will it cost you that relationship? If you are fighting with your siblings, and then somebody ends up falling on something. I've known people who were fighting and somebody got pushed rather, and they ended up hitting their head on the coffee table and died. Now, that wasn't the intent, but it started from, some people might say, a simple argument, and it cost somebody their lives. And so the reason why I use that case is because it didn't have to go that way. I don't know. Maybe the girls, the women, I don't want to call them girls, and I do not want to call them victims, because that's what people have been calling those grown women. They've been calling them victims. They weren't victims. They went over into the girls' environment and caused the ruckus. Okay, you don't live there, and if I don't clean up the house, call my foster mom or whatever you need to do. But how it ends up into, fisticuffs and, violent interactions with butcher knives and all of that, clearly something got lost in translation. Somebody didn't know how to speak. And I'm assuming if you're the adult, which those women were, you're the adult in the situation, it seems like at that point in your life, you should figure out how to speak to people, how to get your point across, how to become some sort of an authority figure without it ended up with butcher knives or kitchen knives, rather, whatever they were, and somebody being shot. And so I'm saying that is because, especially we as Black people, sometimes we don't know how to talk to each other. And I don't even really think talking is the issue as much as listening is the issue. A lot of times we think that, we should be doing all the talking, when in essence, we should be doing more listening. The best way I heard it was God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And that is because we are supposed to listen more than we talk. And so, like I said, I'm a communication expert. I think that I am. So I want to really just spend a couple of moments, not too long, just talking about how we can better communicate with each other. Now, when I talk to Donovan, I don't ask him nothing. I just bark orders at him. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But no, seriously, how we can better communicate. And it took me a long time. I'll say like a long time, like, I just got it yesterday. But it took me a while to really understand how to communicate. And it is an art. It really is an art. But it doesn't take long to learn how to do that. And so we're going to get to you guys' comments. I'm going to give the floor to Donovan real quick, and then we'll get to you guys' comments.
Well, I've been kind of researching the situation myself and reevaluating, looking at the different videos. When the video is very hard to look at. But have you noticed that the Black man that was, I think he had 8 kids in North Carolina that was shot? Notice that they are very reluctant to release the video and keep talking about, well, the law says we can't, release the video without a court order. Well, the city attorney should have immediately requested that the video be released. But when it's a bad shoot, and I'm not saying this one here with the girl is a good shoot. I'm trying to get you guys to understand how white supremacy works. When they think they have an up and up case of a good shoot, they release the video immediately. When it's not a good shoot, they try to hold it for as long as possible. Then you have scumbags like Lori Lightfoot up in Chicago who's talking about, it's a dog tragedy, knowing she had the video for months and she could have released it. But, again, it's like that. But I was talking to a friend of mine, and he says that video, and he works in the African Diaspora Network there. He kind of told him to watch us and stuff like that. He says that it's a failure of the YouTube generation and the world star Black girl fights. How many of you guys will remember when you see these Black girls out there coming from the clubs and they're just in Denny's or Waffle House just fighting and fighting and fighting? Like I said, it's hard to watch video. But when we were coming up, Demetra, I don't remember any of us grabbing I'm not saying she's in the wrong. Like I said, I understand what you're seeing on that side of it, and I see that side of it too. But the response is not to pick up a knife and keep going. And if you did have to do that to defend yourself, I'm all for that. When the police arrive, you stop what you're doing, because even when you don't have a gun, the police shoot us to death. So I just think it's a bad situation all around. And I'm not saying the girl's ultimately at fault, but again, sometimes you just have to use wisdom. And the girl was 16 years old, so it ain't like this is a 9-year-old, whatever. She kind of knows right from wrong. The police arrived on the scene. I know she was defending herself, but even when you're defending yourself and you're in the right, and these race soldiers show up, they're going to shoot you. That's the excuse. They need to shoot you. But like I said, it's rough, and we have to really look at and reimagine policing, because I don't understand why 4 bullets had to be pumped into this girl, even if he was justified to shoot her.
Yeah, and so I'm going to get to you guys' comments, but before I do that, I just want to say, we've all been 16 before, and I think a lot of times people get that confused with, being an adult. You're not an adult. Hell, some people in their 40s are still don't behave like an adult. And so you also got to add in passion. When a person is mad or enraged and impassioned, whatever, a lot of times, and I'm not making excuses, but there's just things you don't see, and that's why I think you have to check yourself before you get there. But if there are adults on the scene, why do you have the 16-year-old to that degree, and as far as knives, I've been in a situation when I was a teenager, probably around that age, where one of my siblings, who shall remain nameless, got mad because they were egged on to the degree, and they chased us out of the house with a knife. Now, were they going to stab us? I don't know. I wasn't going to stick around to see. And so I actually get that scenario of them running out of the house and somebody chasing somebody with a knife, because like I said, I was in that situation. My sibling got pissed off, like really pissed off at us, and chased us around the house. And the only thing we could do was bust out of the back door. Like we went running. So I get it,
yeah. Was this the time Professor Smitty was in his diapers and was chasing you guys?
No. So I understand how that could happen, but at the same time, I mean, and you guys have probably seen the comparison online as well of police officers apprehending white people. I've seen 2 videos within the last, couple of hours, white people running around with knives chasing the police. I saw one where a dude had a knife and the police ran up on him and grabbed him. They wrestled it out of his hand. They tased him. They did tase him. So we know that tasing was an option. Also should be said too that the police officer, in this case, Police Officer Reardon, he's a trained marksman. So, I mean, I'm sure there were other things he could have done. And I know people keep saying, well, they're trained to shoot center mass.
See,
I get all of that.
Yeah, let me answer that real quick. I was in the military myself, and I earned marksman award as well. Yes, we are trained to shoot center mass and shoot to kill. But that's a training. Okay, there's a training technique and there's technique. Okay, there's training and then there's technique. And they tell you in training, this is how you should do it by the book. But your technique is what you're going to do. So just because you're trained to shoot center mass doesn't mean you have to. And I hate when people use that analogy. Well, they're trained to do this. It doesn't mean you have to do it, though. No, there is nothing in the book that says you have to kill everybody every time you pull your weapon. There's nothing in the book that says that. And if there is, please show it to me, because that's a massive lawsuit.
No, absolutely. And so I'm gonna get to these comments. And Robin, how you doing? You say it's more to that story about Micaiah. You said that folks don't know she was defending herself and her sister. Yeah, and so I actually did see or hear it rather, the audio that you're talking about. Her sister did before, I guess, Facebook and YouTube took it down, and she was very, very, very upset. And she explained what was going on. She said the girls, the ladies, the grown women is what she called them. She said the grown women were attacking them. So that's what happened. But, it's sad to me that people just jump to all kind of conclusions and blamed Micaiah, as for her death, for lack of better words. And those women stood there like, they didn't go up in there inciting what they incited.
Right. Haven't we been saying for like almost a year now, with all of these shootings from Trayvon Martin now? We're not saying don't snitch, but the chances of when you call the police in our community, somebody's going to be dead. I mean, you really, really need to think about, when it's time to call the police. And this whole scenario is so messed up. I just don't know what to tell you. I just don't know.
So Donovan says, Afro Diaspora Network, when you are Black and you have a knife or a so-called gun in your hand and the police show up, stop what you're doing, because even when doing nothing, you get killed. Yeah, I mean, and they also say too, hindsight is 2020. And Carmen, how you doing? It says a 16-year-old child was shot 4 times in the chest. She lost her life over some BS. And there you go. And that's why I said, what is it going to cost me? Ultimately, what is it going to cost me? Now, obviously, it cost her life, unfortunately. But these women who showed up to, do whatever they did, and I wasn't there, but I can guarantee y'all better clean up this mother woo house. Mom wouldn't want this house like that. What the hell wrong with y'all? Y'all so lazy. I wasn't there, but if I had to guess, I guarantee you that's how that conversation went.
And let me add on to that. When he was saying that world star attitude and stuff, that's what those Black men did in those old war star videos. Who was always videotaping? It was always you could always hear a dude that was holding the camera. Grown ass Black men right there, letting all of this bullshit go on, and a young girl is killed.
Yeah, and then, I don't know the whole story on her father, but it seems like the guy that was there was her father, and he was called to the scene. I guess the police, for whatever reason, was taking some time to get there, and he did, I think, what most fathers would do: you show up and protect your daughter, And then if you heard the 911 tapes, it was pretty hectic in that, going on. So maybe she called him, and he heard all of that too, and went over there to protect his daughters, because it sounds like there's two of them over there. So, and then Carmen says foster care children are not always treated with respect. And you're absolutely right. A lot of those parents do it for a check, and they leave the kids to their own devices. I've heard so many horror stories. It's ridiculous. Foster, kids who are now grown, the things that they endured, at the hands of foster parents, and the foster parents were just doing it for a check. And so,
yeah, the funny thing is, you say that they have a number of the young girls that go through foster care that end up on drugs. They end up in the strip club, and just on that side of law enforcement, just from the experience of being in foster care. And they say it's about like 15% of the young girls that go into foster care end up on that side of the law or in that lifestyle.
Yeah, and that's very unfortunate. If you guys are, I don't know if they're doing watch parties anymore, but if you are watching it from another place on Facebook, tap the link and come on over, and I'd love to read your comment. And Robbie say, right, it didn't have to end that way. They were wrong. The woman in the pink, that was her knife. Micaiah took it from her during the fighting. See, more information is coming out. And it's what's unfortunate too is, I don't know if those women have spoken, but even during one of the cops' body cams, the lady in the pink was trying to explain her side of it after, I believe it was after Micaiah was shot. And so it's like, you trying to come up as the victim, but you were the perpetrator of this mess. Grown women. And Afro Diaspora Network, he said, this is a failure of the YouTube generation and World Star Black Girl Fights. Well, I think originally, I don't know if it had anything to do with them just fighting as much. I think it had a lot to do with, people in the wrong place at the wrong time, saying some stuff that the girls didn't want to hear. They don't live there. I would want to know, why are you there? And it doesn't sound like the foster mom was there at the time. So why are you there? What are you doing there if she's not there? Like I said, there's a lot of things to be answered, questions that they need answers. And let's see here. And Carmen says, inside the home, they are assigned to, whether it's the foster parent or the foster parent's natural children. I've seen this. Yeah, so it doesn't sound like those ladies were, I think they were foster children of hers at one point in time. So they, I guess, grew up and come back, and they still kind of consider her their mom. But it's crazy. Now, the mom is probably going to lose her foster care credentials and all of that, because obviously her environment was out of control to the point of one of her foster children being killed. And Randall, you say, sometimes I think our ladies can be too outspoken. Yeah, I agree now, because I know some people would take exception to what you're saying, like, what you're trying to tell me, I can't say what I. No, it's not that. But it's like, sometimes, again, it goes back to the question, what is it going to cost me if I'm, saying some of the wrong things, and, and your verbiage too outspoken, and not have enough knowledge and information behind what we're saying. And one of the scariest things that take place as far as communications to me is uncontrolled emotions. We've all been mad to a point to where, I don't want to say especially as Black women, but because I'm a Black woman, I know, man, we'll give you the razor blades and lemon juice treatment with our tongue if we just, get to the point where our emotions take place. Y'all be a whole bunch of BANs, and I ain't gonna say the word, but y'all know what I mean. A whole bunch of stuff if you get on the wrong side. Donovan knows what I'm talking about. How you doing, Jason? And he said it's because they can't justify the shooting, is why they are withholding the video in North Carolina. So yeah, I actually need to get on top of what happened there, but it sounds like they shot him as he was leaving the scene. So, it's
father, I think, of 8.
Yeah, he had quite a few children from what I understand. And so I'm right now to the point where I have to take a break from some of that stuff because it does become overwhelming, and that was both of those incidents were shortly after the Derek Chauvin murder conviction. So nothing's changing for Black people, especially when it comes to the way we were treated by police officers. And Robin says, I think she was in sensory overload that she couldn't process everything that was going on around her at the time. The whole flight or fight kicked in. And that's exactly what I mean by enraged. People say, I just went Black. All I could see is Black. Or, they call it a lot of times crimes of passion where it's not premeditated. Like, okay, if she come next to me, I'm going to grab this whoop-de-whoop and I'm going to do this and that to her. It just all happens on the spur of the moment, and it's unbridled emotions and passion. And by the time, because you ever hear some people like, what happened? I did that. Oh my gosh. What? Because they just went Black. Like they didn't see anything else. It was what they call blind rage, right? So yeah, absolutely. And you also say, I saw that video too. And April, how you doing? You said, that's my issue, the clear double standard. Absolutely. White people run around with like Michael Myers in this piece, and police officers are like, let's just talk about it. Just wait a minute. I know you're having a very bad day. I just want to try to, he's like, really?
Yeah. Well, did you guys hear about the sheriff or the person in the kid that Wisconsin that sent him a letter that said that we're with you and keep your chin up? He was fired, I believe. But, what does that tell you when a white kid, I think his mom should be charged as well because she dropped him off. She should be charged with the crime as well, in my opinion. But a white kid could walk past you with a semi-automatic rifle and the police don't even flinch.
Well, like you said, you did nothing wrong. Every rank and file officer supports you. We're with you. That's what and he actually, this was in Virginia, police officer, he donated $25 to the Kyle Rittenhouse Defense Fund. And he says you did nothing wrong. Every rank and file officer is with you. And he was the number 2, highest in command of the internal affairs division there in Virginia. So it's like, okay, well, you that high up on the ranks, and you said every rank and file supports you. Do tell. So that means that quite a few of them in every aspect of law, and we know that's not a secret, right? But every person in regards to law enforcement are behind what he did in Kenosha, Wisconsin, in murdering 2 people and injuring another during the Jacob Blake protest. Jacob Blake was shot in the back, I think 7 times, and he's now paralyzed. And they decided not to charge the officer.
And the officer is back at work right now. And also, real quick, the soldier in South Carolina. And I got to give a big applause to you guys out there, because you guys are starting to not listen to these civil rights activists. And when these people disturb us in our peace, we are showing up at their houses. The lady that shot Deontay, they had to put a barrier around her house. The South Carolina drill instructor, he had to leave his house, okay, that he was there. And then there was another one, I saw it this morning. I don't know if you saw it, Demetra. Another Army drill instructor in South Carolina, in a drunken stupor, was talking about Black lives don't matter. I mean, the racism comes out. He has fathered a child, supposedly by his words, a Black child himself. So he doesn't consider himself racist. But, when you drink alcohol, the real you actually comes out. And for those of you guys that don't know, drill instructors come in contact with people of different races and nationalities more than anybody on the earth. And for these people to be drill instructors and to have the thoughts that they have, what does that tell you about white supremacy? It is entrenched in almost every law enforcement, anything with a gun. White supremacy is entrenched in that bad boy. You better believe it.
Yeah, that's who they are. We know that police officers and all of that, they, especially here in America, they are originally slave patrol and patty rollers, they were there because of slavery, right? To police Black people. So yeah, we shouldn't be surprised about that. And Tawana, how you doing? He says, I just don't know why she did not drop the knife when the police arrived. There is just a lack of understanding on of our understanding of how, I think you meant
our knowledge, our knowledge of how white supremacy works.
Yeah, how it works. I mean, again, blind rage. A lot of times people don't see clearly when, the things that are around them until it's too late. So I kind of think that's what happened there. And Black Ricardo, how you doing? He says, that's the problem. We need to put an emphasis on calling the police, quote unquote. The end result may be different for other groups, but most of the time it will end in death for us. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. But at some point in time, you may need to call the police, right? But I do agree with you. We need to figure out what's a good reason, because we don't get the same treatment as everybody else that calls the police. But in the case of Micaiah, it sounds like the girls, the adults, the women had the knives. And so I think she did what she thought she was supposed to do. And unfortunately, it didn't turn out well for her. I mean, I would be very scared to call the police, to be honest with you. And hi, Pam, how you doing? Greetings to you as well. And Herman, what's going on with you? You say if they're going to blame the police, why don't they just quit calling the police and fix their own situation themselves? Well, I agree with you, but we're also talking about a 16-year-old child who was being in the process, if not, I don't know, she was assaulted, her and her sister, by grown women. So I think she did what she thought she was supposed to do. But I agree with you. Ultimately, we need to be proactive in fixing a lot of the things in our community. Now, it should also be said, as I said the other night on the show, because, Gary actually made the point of people not wanting the police in our neighborhoods. And I said, I want the same police officer that shows up at that white woman's house in Beverly Hills to show up in mine. When she calls the police on her uncle that's having a mental breakdown, I want the same type of treatment if I'm calling the police because my uncle is having a mental breakdown. I don't want to call the police and he's murdered when he needs some sort of medical attention. So it's not that we don't want the police. We don't want the bloodthirsty police that come in like Rambo and shoot up everything. We don't want that.
Yeah, wasn't the movie Higher Learning made in 1994, I believe, maybe 96, around that time? Didn't John Singleton tell us how interactions with the police actually happen? Remember when Remy was assassinating people from the rooftop? He was killing stuff, and then Omar Epps goes and fights him and stuff. The cops start beating on Omar Epps, for no reason. They don't know who's who. They started beating on Omar Epps. And then when they finally realized, even though Omar Epps was arrested, still taken away, when they finally realized that the white guy was the shooter, what did the policeman do? Hold on. Yeah, we know. And, he's confessing it and stuff like that. This is reality. And I mean, I think it's so awesome how you can go back 30 years and these movies were sending a message and telling us what was going to happen. Being foresighted. John Singleton, he was such and it was John Singleton in both movies. He told us about gentrification and all that stuff that was happening and how our community is affected by missing fathers and all of this stuff. And it all came true. And it's just scary and shocking. But we're going to have to just, really reimagine policing, period.
Yeah, and I don't think it's for us to reimagine. It's for the people, the powers that be, And so, and Robin, you also say foster care is extra income for some. Yeah, and for a lot of them, it's a big income for a lot of people, but they don't treat the children right, and it's really sad. Like I told you, I've heard plenty of horror stories from people who used to be in the foster care system.
Right. Now, I understand it's extra income for somebody like that. I'm not really familiar with foster care, I know, but isn't it more than just housing a child? Aren't you supposed to teach them like family structure?
You become their parent in every way, shape, or form.
Yeah, you're supposed to do that. But what I understand about foster care, it's basically housing these kids for the next step, which is prison, or, if they make it out of there.
Well, that's not the way it's supposed to be, but, a lot, because there's such a need for foster children to be placed. I don't know, but it seems like maybe the qualifications are a little bit lax in that who they vet to become foster parents, because I've heard of many foster children being raped and, you know, sold and abused, just the most, right? And so there's definitely something wrong within that system, because it doesn't seem like a lot of parents are doing it right. Hey, Mr. Pirate Brain, how are you? And Donovan says, please help support the show. Hit the Cash App scrolling on the banner. I would greatly appreciate that if you can. There's Venmo and there's PayPal, whatever floats your boat. Every little bit helps the show to keep going.
Yes, but we like the kind that folds, not the kind that... No, I'm messing with it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Stupid. Yes, also, I am on the African Diaspora News channel and the African Diaspora News Insider with Phil Scott, who is a wonderful, wonderful individual that has created a platform for us to get all the news that you don't get on the major networks. And so, just so you know.
Yeah,
all right.
As a matter of fact, real quick, is the Diaspora channel down right now or something? I saw a comment.
It's down right now. Some nonsense, but it'll be back up. Something crazy. Yeah. So if you guys are in the watch parties or in the other channel, hit the link and come over here, and I'd like to read your comment. And Robo Man, what's going on with you? You say, at Black Ricardo, we should all know that from experience. I remember a mother calling the police because a neighbor assaulted her child. Officer showed up and attacked the mother. Yeah, they come into our neighborhoods and not wanting to help. They just want to get rid of the problem by any means necessary, and that needs to stop. And Marcus, how you doing? He says, it was truly disheartening to see her get killed. It was also extremely extremely maybe disheartening as well to see the Black man trying to his best to kick the Black woman on the ground in her face. Black on Black hate is a part of the disease of being Black in America. I agree. But I also think that pictures are worth 1,000 words, as they always tell us. And I guess in this case, the video, now, no, by no means am I excusing that man's behavior. But it sounds like that man was her father, and he was called over there to the melee. Now, we don't know exactly what happened. Should he have been trying to kick her? No, but, you know, again, I'm not making excuses, because I'm one of those people that like to tell the whole story. I don't like to just say, oh, well, he was wrong for kicking her. Well, not that it matters, but why? Wait a minute. Wait. Let me finish, because I don't want to get lost in what I'm saying. Why? Why was he driven to again, I'm not saying he should have been trying to kick her head like a football. I'm not saying that. But why was he driven to that point? What happened? And because to me, in every confrontation, I think everybody is culpable, right? So I can't say, oh, well, you know, men shouldn't be beating up women. But then on the other side, the woman is doing stuff to him, putting her hands on him, because we hear that a lot. Oh, and no man should put his hands on a woman regardless. You know, well, you know, he's the bigger one and he's physically stronger. But yeah, you slapped the doo-doo out of this man, not once but twice. He tried to make you stop. And so finally he physically subdued you. Now all of a sudden you want to play the gender card. So that's what I'm saying. We need to ask questions before we just assume that this man is, you know, an evil individual, and he just was walking by and wanted to kick the lady's head off. Because it sounds like the lady that was on the ground, she's a grown woman, was in the melee inside the house, from what I understand.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted you to clarify that, because, you know, we hear it so many times. Women say a man should never put his hands on a woman no matter what. That's a bunch of bullshit. And you know how I feel about it. That's a bunch of bullshit. You beat up my mama. This is what I think is the only, you know, in my definition, only time a man should put his hands on a woman, period. He beats up your mama, she kicks or kills your dog, and she burns your house down. I will get in that ass if you do those 3 things to me, period. You know, and then, like I said, he's a grown man. I felt he didn't have to kick that woman. He could have choked her out. He could have done something like that, because when you kick somebody in the head, severe damage can happen. So,
well, what if one of those ladies in that Micaiah was your mama? And your mama called him over. Him. Yeah, no, I would definitely defend my child. But when it comes to like women that are smaller than me, I wouldn't use that kind of force on a woman. Okay, and I'm not advocating violence. I'm just saying we don't ask enough questions, not just us, but just in general, people don't ask enough questions to get to the root of stuff. That's why I'm saying that. But yes, I agree with you, Marcus. And Olori, I hope I said that right. How you doing? He says, thank you for tagging me in on this, my dear brother. So somebody tagged you, and I thank you for whoever it was. And Robin, you say, beware, we will show up at your front door. Yeah, that's that. And they need to know that. Whoever, whether it's the Asians and the beauty supplies that's choking out our women, the Arabs and the liquor store, whoever, they need to know think before you act. Okay, if I put my hands on this sister, is a whole slew or a horde of black men or people going to show up at my business and give me the business? That's what they need to be thinking.
Well, the thing is, I think everybody's got beyond going to the business, because if I go to your business and you're sitting at your home like nothing ever happened. So now we're coming to your house. We're showing up at your house. And I think that is a smart strategy to do that, because we're going to let you know it's not acceptable. And you ain't going to get no peace until we get justice. So marching and protesting, Demetra, it is so good to actually see Black people are graduating from the we's going to pray now, mass. So we going to march and we going to protest and hopefully somebody will do something for us. No, we're saying, you know what? This ain't working. We're going to go to your houses now. Do you know that lady that shot Deontay, that city is spending $9,000 a day to house that place, and she's not even there anymore.
Yeah, they did the same thing with Derek Chauvin until they took him into custody. They had a big police presence around there. And Black Ricardo, who said that robo man, understandable, but this is something, regardless of how many times it happens, we still do the same thing. We need some of refresher for our young people. And let's see, I'll put your thing up here, Donovan, so people can see it. And Oliver, how you doing? He says, be careful about showing up at their houses. It gives them an excuse of protecting and standing their ground. And you know what? I was actually going to say that, because in Florida, they passed a new law saying that you can get in trouble for doxing people, which is putting their information, their phone numbers and address out there. And they've given people some rights in regards to protesters. I have to really look at it, but that was one of the things. And to your point as well, yeah, a lot of these states are stand your ground. And in Ohio, the stand your ground not only says that you are able to protect yourself if you're in imminent danger, but you can pursue, like she was doing, you can pursue up until, you exterminate the threat, because just because they're not, in your person anymore, I guess the premise of that law is maybe they'll turn around and do something to you. And so you are able to pursue up until you get rid of that threat permanently. So you're right. You should be careful. And Herman, he says, would it have been different if it had been a Black police that shot her? No, it wouldn't have been. See, what we also need to understand is police officers, whether they are Black or they are white, they are behind the blue wall of violence. Black police officers in some cases are worse because they are adhering to that blue wall of violence, and they in some ways forget that I am Black. I bleed blue. Like some people with their high schools, I bleed blue. I'm a police officer at the end of the day. And so they're going to adhere to the unwritten codes, okay? They're going to adhere to the unwritten codes of policing. And so does it matter that if it would have been a Black or a white one? No, it doesn't matter. What matters is a 16-year-old was, I'll just say it, gunned down in cold blood because I felt like that police officer had other things he could do. So I think police officers, to me, they're the same. But should also be said, Black police officers that do stuff that breaks the law as far as policing goes, they're dealt with like that. So, and let's see here. Ooh, my comments jumped up. Okay, and then so Marcus says, we are so busy defending ourselves against the police abuse and killing the thousands that we don't have time to deal with internally with the Black people and on Black hate that is raging by the millions. She didn't put the knife down because she had no value of her own life, as well as the sister she was about to cut. The video has levels of to what we see. I disagree with that. I think that she had value on her life, which is why she was protecting it. See, I think, and I'm not saying this about you, Marcus, but I think sometimes we put narratives on things that I don't know, just to me, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I think we're making too much of this. I think it's really a simple case. Well, I want to say simple, like it doesn't matter, but I think it's really a case of Micaiah was in her home, minding her business, whether she was not cleaning the house or not. Those two grown ladies went over to her house and started the business with her. They didn't live there. They probably went over there and did all the stuff I described a minute ago. With all the rah-rah, I'm grown, you not, little girl, you better do what I say. I'm mama, this, that, all of that, right? And so I think she did what she thought she had to do, and that was protect herself. Now, I don't know if you heard the 911 call. I did. And it sounds like she was in distress. And so I think we're putting, and I'm not, listen, don't take this the wrong way, men, but I think it's extremely effed up that when Black women and girls are murdered by the police or whoever, we got all these prerequisites and all these little, well, what if, we want to be Columbo up in this mug when it comes to Black women. Look how they did Breonna Taylor. But when Black men are shot in the street and people take to the streets, people, oh, it's wrong, but we want to dissect it. Oh, well, she should have, could have, would have. She shouldn't have been doing all of that. Instead of getting on cold until further notice, and see, what actually happened. But everybody wants to be the internet detective and try to figure out how the 16-year-old girl with 4 bullet holes in her chest was wrong, when in essence, that girl was the victim. I'm just saying. Kenitra, how you doing? You said, we want police that see us as people and not enemies. Exactly. And you said, why do they always use the most force on us? Because they don't see us as humans. They just don't. And Jacqueline, how you doing? He says, still and all, it's overkill. Yes, it is overkill. 4 bullets, not one. A taser, shoot her in the booty, the arm, leg, something. But 4 in the chest. Come on. I agree with you. It's complete overkill. And
well, what about this though? Have you guys ever noticed? I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It happens very rarely, but it does happen. Black officers don't seem to be having this problem as a whole compared to these white officers. You don't really hear a lot of stories of Black officers killing white officers. So don't get it twisted. I know there's a lot with the Black on Black officer. I'm talking about white people when they show up on the scene. Why is that? But they receive the same training.
Exactly. Yeah. I saw a video Sean King posted actually about some police trainer was telling the police officers in the room that the sex is great after you kill somebody. When you go home, that's one of the benefits of, making a kill, is the sex is phenomenal. So that's that.
I mean, wasn't there a movie starring Ice-T that kind of gave you that rush when you hunt the ultimate prey?
Surviving the game.
The game. So you guys go get out that old VHS tape if you got it and put it in there. Mm-hmm. A good example. They were out there looking for homeless people, and they might still be doing it. We don't know.
Right.
We don't know what goes on the Jeffrey, Epstein, these private islands, and all these people end up disappearing.
Right. I wouldn't doubt it. And Jacqueline, you also say, Robin, you're more right than anyone anywhere. Okay. And Robin says some foster parents eventually adopt, which is what happened with my parents. They adopted my youngest brother. Yeah. And then I don't want to say that all of them are bad, but we've heard a lot of horror stories of, the foster care system. And you also say, Jacqueline, sensory overload. Yeah, I see that as, being the case. And Georgia Rose, she said, not like a football. That's to me what it looks like he was trying to do was punt,
Yeah, like the Charlie Brown Lucy thing.
Yeah, but if you just look at how he did it, he seemed like he was pretty pissed off.
He had some Timbs. He had some Timbs on or something.
Yeah, he missed because it would have been a wrap. And Robin says, at Jacqueline, you say, that's what it looks like as sensory overload. It was too much going on that she couldn't process everything. I don't think she even heard the cop. I'm with you. I think that's the case too. I totally agree with you. And you also say, Jacqueline, no drama in my sphere. All right now. And Mr. Few Clothes, where your rest of your clothes at? No, I'm just kidding. How you doing? He says, you need more conscious Black men and Black women to join police departments like they do the military and the Guard. I agree.
Well, yeah, I agree with that, but let's be real. Most black men that have to join the military, like myself, it's an opportunity that we're technically forced to do because we were messing around in high school or whatever, or it's a means to an end. Because most people that I know, nobody wants to go join no damn military, especially when you know what this country is doing. Now, I did 24 years in the military, and people are just amazed that I'm not necessarily anti-military, I'm anti-bullshit. And when I was in the military, I was a rabble rouser. I was always the guy that when the troop got in trouble, I asked why and what are the circumstances. I didn't just go by, well, here's the rule and da 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 da. But with the white guy, you gave him 30 days. Why are you giving this guy correctional custody?
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? So, so I don't really push black men into going into the military. And if I do push them, I tell them to go to college and join the ROTC so they make the money off the top and they can give the orders. But to join the police departments, think about how many police departments have superintendents and department heads that are black, and they do absolutely nothing to change the culture within the police department. That's why, just like our politicians, these police chiefs are in cahoots with the white supremacists as well. I mean, because think about it. If you have the power, you can change your department. But they don't want to do it because they're worried about their butter biscuits. Just like I say, black politicians ain't shit. Black police chiefs ain't shit either, because stop telling me there are good cops when you can't point one out to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot going on with policing. So absolutely, and I won't belabor the point. Hey, Monet, how you doing? And Jacqueline says that, Robin, absolutely. And Kenitra says they weren't acting like women at all, and to the point where people thought they were young girls, right? And Pam says, remember in 1979, Eula Love was shot and killed by LA police officers, LAPD officers. She had a knife, but tossed it on the ground. She walked away, but the cop shot her in the back anyway. The cop didn't have to do that, right? I always thought if you shoot somebody in the back, that was criminal, but we've seen that especially a lot. There's a guy, can't think of the officer's name, but in the Walter Scott case, he was trying to appeal, but his appeal was denied. He shot Walter Scott in the back as he was running, and they gave him 20 years. And the judge was like, no, you gonna do them 20 years, brother, a partner. And Jacqueline says supposedly the KKK cops was a sharpshooter. Yep. So why not her shoulder? Overkill again. I agree. And that's a thing a lot of people don't know. He was a trained sharpshooter. Right. I mean, look how accurate his shots were.
Right. And I mean, and again, you got a taser, you got a club. I mean, like I said, I know karate, and I know that they have hand-to-hand combat stuff. There was nothing stopping him from getting his club out and separating the two, and then, forcibly dealing what he's got to do. Or he could have shot in the air to grab people's attention. There's so many things that could have been done by a trained military person and a police person.
Yeah. And Mr. Few Closure says you need fewer white cops in black areas. Indeed. And Jacqueline, you say pull up where the laws are enacted every time. And you also say reparation, sovereignty, separation at will. And Donovan says California Supreme Court has ruled that LA City has to house the homeless in 90 days. Your thoughts? I mean, hell, they spend a lot of money on everything else. I don't see why not. I mean, why is it that immigrants that aren't supposed to be here, why do they benefit for so much money and programs and things? And we got homeless people that are supposed to be here that, can't get a free hot meal from the government. So yeah, I'm with them putting them up. Yeah, put them somewhere, where they're out of the elements. I mean, the United States is supposed to be the richest country in the world, supposed to be. But yeah, you got people sleeping under bridges and underpasses. Yeah, put them up. I'm with it. Use my tag dollars for that all day.
Right. Now here's my question with that though. When this moratorium on rent is finished and they stop it, guess who's going to be the most affected group in the United States affected by the moratorium?
Well, it's us, and we are also the most homeless population as well everywhere, especially in California. We are the most homeless in the homeless population is Black people. So yeah, And Jacqueline says, start cash reparations at 100 years of Jim Crow while tweaking tangibles for 244 years of chattel slavery. Yep. Start somewhere. And Mike, how you doing? He says, I think they will charge those girls with her murder. I think they should. I don't think they should get off and be like, ooh, I was scared. Well, first of all, what was you doing over there and starting all that mess? So I agree with you 100%. They should be charged. And Herman says, so at what point does the police have to protect themselves themselves? Do they wait? I'm sorry. And see what the other person do before they can make a decision of what to do. At what point you blame the parents? Why was she at a foster home? See, this is the thing. I think the reason why she wasn't at the the reason that she was at foster care, I think that's besides the point. She could have been at the mall. She could have been at the zoo. What difference does it make that she wasn't with her parents? If she's in a foster care, that person is her parent until further notice. And so regardless of why, see, again, we're victim blaming. We're blaming that girl. And from what a lot of people say, she was a nice girl. She had her TikTok videos and she was smart and had good grades. So we're not talking about somebody who, was just out there. And a lot of times people lose custody of their kids due to the no fault of the kid. Maybe obviously her parents were lacking in some way, but what difference does it make whether she was with her parents or her foster parents? That doesn't mean she should be dead. And as far as the police, I think they are trained. We know they're trained to deal with critical, because I learned all this just watching the Derek Chauvin trial. They learned to deal with critical situations. They have hours and hours and hours and hours of training to deal with certain situations like that. But just to go to, as they would call, the top tier in force, I just think there was other things that could have been done because we've seen it.
Yeah, Herman, I just want to add to that. Like, you said there, when does the point does the police have to protect themselves? They constantly protect themselves. But supposedly you join the police force to protect and serve. Protect us. That's why they got the guns. That's why they got all the tools. So when do we get some protection? Because they're constantly talking about if you don't want to protect and serve me, stop being a cop. I mean, when I was in the military, and I'm not sure if you were in the military or whatever, but even, if you were, great, so on and so forth. I don't go out there to just worry about me. I'm going out there for a concept. I'm going out to make sure I get my educational benefits. I'm going out there for everything I need to go out there for, to protect so that other people don't have to. And I'm willing to put my life on the line to do so. And I'm going to use as little force as possible to do that. We got a lot of punks joining the police department as a job, and they don't understand what the term protect and serve means. It means I'm going to protect you first before I worry about myself. That's what it means.
Yeah, and then you get a lot of, people, like your George Zimmermans, who's walking tall and tough in the neighborhoods, and they trying to join the police force because they, Billy Badass, not really because they want to protect and serve. And Robbie says, I agree with that too. I work in behavioral unit. We get plenty of kids like Micaiah. I'm telling you, she was in sensory overload. She was not processing nothing at that point. I agree with you. I mean, just from looking at her, I could tell. Just from the whole thing that played out from what we saw, I could tell it was, as I say, blind rage, and you say, sensory overload. And Oliver says, good point. And Kenitra says he could have sprayed them with mace when he got out of his car asking what was going on. They go straight into kill mode with us. Yep. Other things he could have done. And Jacqueline says, Robin has professional answers, period. Yeah, I mean, she's right. She is absolutely right. And I think it's unfortunate that we're trying to write, this poor girl off as some unruly. I know this guy officer got a gun, but so what? People are trying to write her off like that, and I don't see it to be that way.
Yeah, I think it's really sad when people say good kill. I don't believe there's anything such as a good kill when it comes to human beings.
Yeah, that's awful. And Robert says he could have shot her in the leg, tased her, but 4 shots to the center mass. Yeah, I agree with you. It was just he was boom, 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 boom. Oh well. And Georgia Rose, you laughing. And Angela, how you doing? Says, thank you for straightening them out on this one, the Demetri K show. Yeah, I mean, I think people should know the truth, you know, and we should stop all that speculating. And I mean, I've heard people who have really big platforms just doing the most. It's like talking about good, she should be dead, and you know, maybe she'll listen next day, or you know, she should have listened. It's like, wait a minute, is that where we are? And we're supposed to be, especially people who have some platforms, you're supposed to use some critical thinking. We're supposed to be thinking people, but just oh well, she dead now. Ignorance, just pure ignorance.
Well, it makes me wonder when it's an altercation with a bunch of black women, you know, oh yeah, a good kill, whatever, you know, everybody's whooping and whooping, right? Now, what if that was a white woman, a bunch of white women that went over there to handle business and stuff like that? Would the narrative be different? You see what I'm saying? It's like we excuse what we do, but we don't say, you know, oh, it's a white cop that shot him. Okay, what if it was a black cop that did the exact same thing? Did anybody ever think about that? Would that have been acceptable? No, the outcome is still the same. She's in foster care. So what? Like you said, Demetri, she's at the mall. The outcome still came out the same. You know, we always want to just excuse what we do. Well, twerking ain't a bad thing. Wearing a hair hat's not a bad thing. You know, it's just like, you know what I mean? We want to excuse stuff that is ridiculous. What does an 8-year-old child have to do with weaving her hair? Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. Oh, okay. Well, you know, it's crazy to me how we excuse the behavior that we do in regards to, you know, how one of our own gets killed. I'm going to agree with you on that. We need to be on the same code when it comes to this situation. And again, you can have your opinion about it. Like I said, I'm kind of tough on it, but 4 shots, this center mass stuff, killing to, you know, just to kill, when he has an option, he could have shot her in the leg. He could have shot her in the shoulder. He's a marksman. I would have done the same thing. I would have shot her in the leg and said, next, it's going to be your pinky toe next. You know what I mean?
Right. And Mr. Fewclose says black folks should condemn reckless, irresponsible behavior among our people's self-accountability. I agree with you 100%. And like I said, I listened to Neely Fuller Jr. and he talks about that. We do need to be accountable for the things that we do in our community, hold each other accountable, and be able to do that. That's the other part. We need to be able to hold each other accountable. Hey, Leather and Luxury Cars, how you doing? And Herman says, military is a choice. I cut up in school and I do pretty good for myself now.
Right. Well, the police is a choice as well. That's what, you know, I know where you're going with that, Herman, but again, military is a choice. The police department's a choice. So what's the difference?
Right. And Kenitra says, sometimes us as women want to, and you corrected it, says act like men. Therefore, we're treated as such. I'm not talking about just LGBTQ. We try to knuckle up with these men. And when they knock our blocks off, we cry that we're women. Yeah, I agree. I just think everybody should keep their hands to themselves and stop trying to use the gender card when you get something you didn't think you was going to get behind putting your hands on a man. I mean, it's rare. Unless you know, even a professional boxer, Layla Ali or somebody, I don't know, that you gonna whoop a man. Don't even try. Like, I don't even know where you get in your mind. You see some of these women and girls jumping up in men's faces and putting their hands on. Oh my God, it's like, ooh, that's gonna end bad for you, sister girl.
Yeah, so, Al Jackson used to pop up on the show all the time. We haven't seen him in months.
Oh, he's all right. And let's see here. And Leather Luxury Cars. He said, I know I'm late, but I couldn't miss y'all. Well, we thank you so much. We got about another half an hour, 45 minutes or so. And Mr. Pirate Brain says, I used to work for, he says, TDCJ and Travis County Sheriff Department. Okay. He says, before I had a heart attack. Oh my gosh. He says, believe me, you can't change it. They reward corrupt officers. Yeah, you know, like I said, we saw where the black lady was a police officer, got fired in 2008, and she just now got all of her pension and everything back because they found she was in the right. She tried to stop one of our fellow officers for administering an illegal chokehold on somebody, and she lost her job. So I agree with you. And Georgia Rose says, exactly, Donovan. The military has a heck of a lot of racial discrimination. It was a battle of regulations for real.
Yeah, if you guys want to know how white supremacy works, actually look at how the military is structured. It is exactly structured as white supremacy. Most of your leaders in the military are white, and that's just the way it is. And, unfortunately, that's, what you got to deal with. So,
yep. And let's see here. We'll get to these comments. And yes, Oliver Mace, they could have used that. And Roboman says, Demetri, it's hard for Black males to stay on code. We're too honest and fair. The majority of us. Well, can you be honest and fair and stay on code? Just asking. And Leather and Luxury Cars, he says, you're not wrong. And then you also say, we're going to suffer for the guilty verdict. That's what's it's looking like at least. Okay. And tonight what's going on? He said, Donovan, oh my God, Don Lemon had 3 on last night and they were full of BS. Acevedo, Miami, Houston, former Chief Scott, San Francisco, and Chief Madry, NYPD. None could answer a direct question. You talking about in regards to
the police chiefs, Black police chiefs, being heads of police departments, and nothing changes. They're all up there. We've got people sitting at the table, but the culture isn't changing because they don't give a damn.
Yep. Hi, Tanae. How you doing? He said so many people are saying she shouldn't have had a knife and she should have listened and saved someone's life. That cop pulled up with bystanders and started shooting, not protocol. He was in range to use a taser, but went straight for his gun. And if he did just have to use his gun, he could have aimed to disarm or slow her down, not to kill people I thought were allies are now switching up, saying, oh, yay for this cop. At least he saved one. Y'all black asses didn't care who he hit because, and I can't see the rest of your comments, but I agree with you. I was shocked too by a lot of comments from people I saw on my social medias agreeing that the cop was in the right for killing her. I was really, and not a lot shocked me, but that was shocking. And you know what the other part that's really disheartening? I saw a lot of black men agreeing that little girl deserved to be shot in her chest 4 times. It was awful. Hey, Jonelle, how you doing? And Robo Man, he says, at Mr. Few Clothes, we have to hold the powers accountable as well. With great power comes great responsibility. Absolutely. And Jonelle says, police got on bulletproof vests, armor, as well as weapons training. How much protection do they need? They got backup and a partner. Yep. Surely do.
Plus the ghetto bird. So, they got infrared. They got everything they need for their protection. What do we have?
A dog sometimes.
Yeah.
And Georgia Rose says, service before self. And hey, Rixie, how you doing? He says, hello, D&D. I'm super late, so I have to rewind, but you're right on time. And Angelique says her parents could have been sick as to why a child could have possibly been in foster care. So did that girl deserve to die? Right. We don't know why she was there. But again, people are speculating and deeming her and her parents to be a horrible person. Now, her mom did eventually show up. She got the call that her daughter was killed. She showed up, and I saw an article where she said she had 5. And, unfortunately, now she has 4 due to Micaiah being murdered or shot or whatever. But
that poor mom could be losing 4 children. I mean, she might have a, depression, mass depression going on. Yeah.
I mean, you just really don't know. And Jonelle says they're a gang doing biased gang crap, and their feet is swift to shed black people's blood. Yep. They talk about it on a regular basis. They are. I believe that most officers, it's like a gang. It's like an initiation. You gotta at least get one to really officially be a police officer, right?
Here in California, the LA County sheriffs have a gang problem. And we're talking about the Mexican gang problem from Mexico. These guys are actually targeting and murdering people. The LA County sheriff, the top cop in the sheriff's department, says, oh no, we don't have a gang problem. But yet you have officers that have done news clips and stories that their identity be concealed, saying that this actually is going on, and these members have tattoos and all kinds of crap going on. So when I hear people say, well, no, the police aren't, they don't have gangs within it. Yes, they do. Look up the LA Police Department Rampart Division. That was a massive gang problem over there.
Yeah. And Mr. Few Clothes, she says, why are these black churches silent? How come they've driven out masculine, heterosexual, straight black men? Black men were leading movements in the 1960s. I'm starting to see a change. Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard, I'm not saying they haven't. I just personally haven't heard any churches speak out about this at all. I haven't. But I would also say, too, that Malcolm X in the 60s were taking black men to task, because he says, you know, actually he was talking about Martin Luther King and that they had women and children on the front lines being attacked by dogs and water hoses. And so he was saying, and I'm paraphrasing, but really a man worth his weight would not have his woman and child out there, you know, battling massa and white supremacy. And so he was also then asking for black men to, you know, step up and do what they were supposed to do and let the women and children stay at home. How you doing, Connie? He says, I have heard several times that officers should shoot their gun in the air. It is illegal in all states to shoot a gun in the air. That bullet has to land somewhere.
Connie, you know, I love that statement, and that's why we're here having a great conversation. We got to talk about this kind of stuff. It's also illegal to murder in every state. That's all I got to say about that. For every law, there's always an exception. For every law, there's always an exception. You do what you got to do. If they got to charge you, then you go to court, let the judge figure it out. But, you know, at the cost of life, yeah. I mean, if that's what you have to do to save a life, whatever. It's just like if you're in a traffic accident, okay, the guy's in the fast lane and he abruptly stops, but you're not supposed to go into the HOV lane, the commuter lane, right? But you had to swerve to go into the commuter lane. Did you break the law? Yes, but you had to do it to avoid a what? Accident.
And then the other part people are not really, I've seen people talk about it, is that he could have shot that lady, the lady in the pink, you know, because she was right there. I mean, if he wasn't a great shot, he could have also shot her. She was in the line of fire as well. But I understand what you're saying. And Angela says that cop lit that young girl up. He sure did. And Ariel, how you doing? He says, family, what it do? He says, Shabbat Shalom, how you doing? And then Leather and Luxury Car says, why shoot her at all? And that's a question I have as well.
Have you guys noticed that a lot of your military deployments and troops, especially when it came to the National Guard, a lot of Southern Guard units volunteered to go into Afghanistan and do that thing? We've been there for 20 years, right? Some of our most rabid troops in the military, and I'm talking about the Army and the Marine Corps, you know, the real military, come from the South. Now, you think you have a racist person that has racist tendencies and you put them in a country that have brown-skinned people. Look at the body count. Look at how many Iraqis died for some bullshit. Nobody talks about that and how we've used these troops and their racism and aggression for the benefit of our name and our so-called freedom. Got to think about it. Now, I was in the military and I always would ask that question, but I'm the troublemaker.
Right. And Robin says, we hold our own to a higher standard, but let everyone else off the hook. It's sad that we're like that. I agree with you. And Mr. Few Close says, Robo Man, until masculine, heterosexual, straight men get involved in the church, he says, community, the home, school, and organizations, nothing will change. I agree with you. And Carla, if I didn't say hello to you already, hello, how you doing? He says, I get so pissed when people always blaming the person who get killed. Yeah. And we need to stop that. You know, let's just stop and wait until more stuff comes out instead of just jumping on the bandwagon. It's crazy to me.
So let me ask you,
why do we need to do, hold on, why do we need to, white supremacy is already going to do that. Why do we need to help them to do that, especially when it's in regarding us?
Right. So let me ask you this. When the white person says we didn't see the whole tape or we should, you know, like I said, I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, isn't that the same argument white people say when they say you didn't see the whole tape or we didn't see the whole thing? Let the process and the system work itself out.
I mean, when a lot of times they say it, we see blatantly what happened. Like with George Floyd. I mean, what else do we need to know? To a fake alleged that we still don't know to this day. If it was fake, $20 bill, should that cost you a knee on your neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds to cause you to die? You know, so in a lot of cases, we see what happened. We don't need a backstory, but this needed a backstory. So it's not the same as far as I'm concerned. And Robo Man says Robin facts. And then Tanae says he didn't follow protocol. He was enraged to tase her. And even if he says even if people are saying he didn't have time to process, neither did she. It was so much more he could have done to protect all the lives present. Instead, he fired shots and put all lives there at risk. The lady he saved, luckily he didn't hit her as well. So I'm glad. I should have read your comment, but you're right. He could have shot her. And Jacqueline says, we didn't have this drama before immigration. Just saying. Artemis, how you doing? He says, I agree, Donovan. It's a tough call, but 4 shots was a bit too much. Yeah, way too much. It's almost like he got off on it, right? And Carla says, we need a Charles Bronson in the Black community. Man, I used to love those Charles Bronson movies, boy. I did 10 to Midnight and Death Wish.
yeah, 10 to Midnight to me was his best one, other than Death Wish. Death Wish was good, but maybe we need to look at the sidearms that the cops use. They're using semi-automatics. Why don't we go back to revolvers where they actually have to pull the trigger? That might slow it down, or whatever. But I mean, these guys are walking around with mini machine guns in their hands.
Yep. And Pammy says, is Derek Chauvin under suicide watch? Probably. I mean, he's going to get some time, and the look on his face, he didn't look like he was anticipating that too much. So it's possible. And Carla says he couldn't have talked her down. She didn't even come at him with the weapon. Yeah, you could tell she was somewhere else, right? So I agree. And Shiloh, how you doing? He says, I am dual state licensed in the insurance industry. I am going to begin researching why. Okay. And then Penelope, how you doing, Janelle? He says Chauvin should not be on suicide watch. Let him take his own trash out. Right. Somebody asked me that. I said, well, I mean, it wouldn't bother me either way. I'm not telling the man what to do, but I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep over it either way. Right.
Yeah. When Jeffrey Dahmer got his, nobody really shed a tear.
Yeah. It's like, all right, what's for dinner? And Mr. Fuclo says, what's destroying Black folks is popular culture, which is rooted in secular materialism, irresponsible behavior, both sexual and otherwise, as a pessimistic outlook and victim's mentality. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, do not forget apathy.
Especially apathy, right? We just, oh, well, And Janelle says, right, white rule, everyone else obey. Because white is right. If you believe that I got a donkey on the sun to sell you, come out of the whitewash and false white doctrines and their ignorant imaginations. Know the truth and face reality. The truth reigns all day. Shiloh says, why red tape exists in regards to policing, as in there is no liability insurance applicable to that industry. I didn't know that.
Well, they don't need it. They have the police union, millions of dollars for a defense, and they lost.
And then he was just saying, too, aside from qualified immunity, which absolves them of any responsibility, especially when they kill people, right? But that's changing in some states, New York being one of them. They've taken qualified immunity off the table. And Jonelle says, we got to stop with our own slave-mindedness as a people. Yeah, that's where it has to start, too. And Robin says the father and the cop could have talked her down. When we get kids like that, we often bring the parent in to talk them down before calling the law. Yeah, but it sounds like, unfortunately, Micaiah called her dad and not the mom. It sounds like the mom was at work, maybe. It wasn't a reasonable adult there, including her father. But we don't know when he got there. Maybe he arrived when the police got there. So it's like we still need to figure out, was he in the house? How long was he there? Did he show up when it was really, starting to boil over? So those are good things to know. But yeah, they should call a parent before, because a lot of times kids, and Robin, I'm preaching to the choir. Shoot, kids who are removed from their parents, they don't want to be. They love their parents and respect their parents. I guess for the most part. So yeah, it would be reasonable that a parent would be able to say, hey, honey, I know things are tough right now, but please listen, just calm down, or, something. So, yeah.
But, look at the area of Columbus, Ohio, where the Columbus, Ohio State University is. Look at the neighborhoods where the majority of the Black people dwell and live. They are at hood levels. Why is that? Is this a mechanism to separate our children from the parents and keep them in a perpetual state of poverty? Where are the jobs in that community? Where, you know what I mean? I mean, there are so many things that affect the Black community that comes down to economics. You know, we need to start addressing that issue and holding these politicians accountable to getting our reparations. One, if that's the only thing that they can do for us, great. And then we start saving ourselves.
Yeah, I agree with that, but also agree that once we start getting knowledge of self and understanding how to properly operate within our Black communities, one of those things is not giving, you know, people that don't look like us our money. Like, we can control that. We just choose not to, you know, even up to making excuses. Well, we don't have a lot of Black stores. I get it. I get that. I understand you can't, you know, you have to do other things, but especially stop spending money with people who come into your neighborhood and oppress you. Like, on purpose, like people who move there to set up shop and drain all the money out and mean you no good at all. You know, so some of those things we can start fixing right now. And Kenisha says, Black women are the forefront of the movement for slaying Black men. Where's that energy for all of us slaying women? We cater to Black men in every fashion. Yeah, and I also want to exclude Black Lives Matter. That organization does not, they're not the forefront for anybody but themselves and other communities in America. I won't say what they are. You guys know what they are, but they're not on the forefront for any of us. But I do agree with you on that. Black women, we do take up the helm in defense of Black men. And I'm not saying that Black men don't do it for Black women, but it is, I think it's fair to say it's one-sided to a large degree.
Well, you know, and let me say in defense of men, well, again, a community only thrives as far as the women within that community are treated. So everything starts with the woman, everything ends with the woman. So I agree with you. There seems to be a disparity, but you got to remember, a Black woman is not a threat to white supremacy. It's a Black man.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying. It begins and ends with the woman, but that, and I know you're not saying this, but when I hear people say that, it almost absolves the man of any responsibility. We know that the man is the protector and the provider, and you know, and all of that. So he has to set the foundation, because you could tell me, I, as the Black woman, I am the first teacher, I'm this and I'm that, and the nation can rise no higher than as woman. But the man still needs to set the foundation, so that I'm able to do that as a Black woman, because as it stands, and I'm not shading Black men out, because I'm not on that page where Black man is Black. I'm not. But I think it puts all the responsibility on Black women. We got to raise the kids. We the first teacher. We the mother of civilization. The nation can rise no higher than this woman. And then in a lot of cases, we are the foundation, right? Because we don't have, or for whatever reason, I'm not blaming, but we don't have our man in the household. And so we got to do all of it. And so when I hear people say that, it almost just kind of sounds like, well, I mean, it's all on you, Black woman, you know, and I know you're not saying that, but when I hear that, sometimes that's what I hear. And Roboman says, we're not like Pinky. Look at Kyle Rittenhouse. Look at Kyle Rittenhouse, how they stay on code. I don't think as men we could do that. He is so in the wrong. Yeah, but as you said, $2 million is what they raised to get him out of there. And they told him he ain't wrong. Okay. Hey, Deron, how are you? And you say, bootlickers always make excuses for the pigs. Yep, I agree with you. Just, woo, massa, you sure is right. Yeah, I don't blame you one bit. I did the same thing if I was you. And Pam says, Penelope, I fully agree. And Rixie says, how's that Biden voting treating us? Oh, let me get to these comments. This is Donovan's segment. We're going to give it to him. Let me get to these comments. Angela says, when they see us, you talking about the movie? All right, and let's see here. That's why I'm trying to catch up on these comments so I could be relevant here. Ooh, and Jonelle says, applaud the Black cops who are not killing Black people because they're white, more or less policing with bias, murder in their hearts. And Randall says, in Texas, they call themselves the Punisher. Okay. And Donovan says, Connie, murder is against the law in all states. And Penelope says, Street gangs are useless. They should be the ones at war with corrupt cops. Yep. And Mr. Fuclo says the NOI and now the Hebrew Israelites are the only Black groups that heavily emphasize male discipline and responsibility. The Black church has emasculated the black man. Yeah, you mostly see women in Black churches. You know, it's a couple of deacons up in there, but the women are running the show. So yeah, I agree with you. And Rick C says the executioners and Diablos instantly come to mind with the LA County Sheriff's Department. Yeah, they are the LA, the sheriffs and the police departments in general, they're just riddled with gang activity within their own ranks. And Jacqueline says, Penelope, okay. And then Crazy Karen, is how you doing? It says, greetings. Greetings, people from African Diaspora Channel. All right now. And Crazy Karen TV. And Kenitra says, D, even when it comes out, we still should stick together. I agree with you. We need to just stay on code, okay? And Marcus says, please tell me, when do we say enough? What has to happen to us for us to stop trying to fix racism and all that comes with it? When does the conversation change to the alternatives? Please, can I get an answer from you both or on when? Well, I think we also need to realize it's not our job to fix or get rid of racism. We didn't start or create racism. That's not for us to do. Racism needs to be ridded by the people who started it. Okay. Now we can stop having a conversation when they do their part and when we do our part, as far as the things we can control in our community. Teach each other about knowledge of self, teach each other about group economics and just being on code, moving as a unit like everybody else does. I think that's when we could stop talking about it. But I think we're sadly mistaken to think that we could stop racism. How you gonna stop something you didn't start? And Robin says we need to have a code of conduct among us. Hold all opinions until the facts come out. Yep. And today, ooh, y'all hear that rain? It's getting crunk out there. Tanae says, I love your show. You all help to get out the frustration and talk about it and express our sides when the rest of the world is rolling their eyes. You guys are essential to healing in the Black community. You know what? That's probably one of my favorite comments ever, because that's the goal. That really is the goal. A lot of us, we don't have a place to go and talk to people who are like-minded and that'll listen. And I'm not saying that's not true for a lot of shows, but a lot of shows just, they do a lot of talking and they don't reiterate or highlight your point of views, your comments, concerns, or just how you feeling. So I love that, because that really is the goal. I know when I leave here, and I know Donovan leaves here, we do have a lot of clarity and like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And we feel a lot better. So I like that. Thank you. And Sheena, how you doing? Says, good afternoon to all. Good afternoon to you as well. And the market says, King and Queen, y'all back. Yes, we back. And Mr. Fuclo says, Black people need to get angry, but get smart. We don't have the firepower to head up with the police or National Guard. The Black Panthers didn't, but we can use common sense and start playing chess. There you go.
Well, let me ask you this. Based on the numbers, 30%, I think a little over 30% of the military is comprised of Black people, whatever your definition of Black is. A good 15-20% of your police department is Black in regards across the nation. We only comprise about 13% of the population. There are more than, they have 2 times the weapons for everybody in this country. So we are armed to the teeth when we need to be. So I agree with you, but the statistics, if we wanted to really rise up and if we can stay on code, it doesn't matter what their army is. It doesn't matter what their police department is. They don't have enough jails nor enough weapons to go against the people. And that's why you see when the people are showing up in the streets and at people's houses, the whole narrative is different. I want you guys to think about this real quick. The narrative is different than when our parents did it in the 60s. Look how quickly legislation moves when we just say, you know what, we're done. You know, we're just going to go and tear up shit and mess things up or whatever. Shit's getting done versus let's just be peaceful. Being peaceful doesn't work.
Right. And Lamarcus, how you doing? He says, put him in general population. And then Robin says, but did you hear the cop say Blue Lives Matter after he shot her? Yes, that was another part of it. They were standing around saying Blue Lives Matter. So Yeah, that's another.
Would that be a race soldier?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. And Kenisha says, over the pond, the police don't carry guns. We should follow suit. Yeah, they ain't gonna do that. They got more guns in America than they do people.
Right. Yeah. They don't carry guns, but they do carry AK-47s and all the other stuff. But then again, because they're carrying a bigger weapon, you don't have incidences of bad killings. If they're going to use that AK-47, they are in the knowledge that they need to use it.
Right. And Robert says, I don't think Shaman is going to attempt to do all that time. He'll probably do himself in. I was thinking the same thing, to be honest with you. When they walked him out of there, I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you got to think about it. But you got to think about it, too. The judge has the discretion of putting out. A lot of these officers now are going to ask for bench warrants because it is obvious now that they cannot depend on jury trials. That is just obvious.
Yeah. And how you doing? He says we do. Why do we call the cops for everything? I'm sorry this child was killed. Nothing will happen to this cop. I agree with you. He says, look at how fast they released the video. Lethal force, their policy. Why call them? Yeah, I agree. I believe he's going to get off. They're going to call it, as Donovan said, I hate that term too, a good kill, and he was in his rights. But yeah, I agree with you. Why call the police, especially if you don't need to, right? And then we be on the other end, they killed her. I didn't mean it. All of that. So yeah, I agree with you. And Pam says, where are all the Christopher Donners? And LaMarcus says, yep, Chris Donner. Yeah. You guys research about him. And at Robo, Manny says, at Robert, even contrary to the facts, that's how they get down. Can we become that? Do we want to be that? And LaMarcus says, yep, Christopher Donner. And Ariel, if I didn't already say, how are you? Says, I don't want to hear this crap about a knife when I can literally specifically pull more than one video right now of a white man going at a cop with a knife and them pleading with him to save his life. I saw 2 just today before I came on here. So I'm with you on that one. And Jonelle says, these children need rec centers with mentors and positive outlets for their energy. It's a reason why Black colonies have none of these positive things, but everything of negativity and wickedness they can get their hands on and involved in. We got to unify and bring order to our colonies and turn them back to neighborhoods and communities. You better believe it, because we don't have those things anymore. It's rare if we do.
Yeah, I wonder that. You got young teens, preteens and stuff. There's no youth centers. There's nothing for these kids to do but, run around with older kids getting into trouble and vandalizing the neighborhoods, or just whatever they're doing. When we were coming up, there was a place to go.
Yep. And Jonelle says they keep us gang banging, man versus woman. And he says we're a unit just as sure as we have to be a unit to have sex. Okay, we get together for 2 minutes to do that. Surely we can get together and nation build, right? And Robin says sad. And Lamar,
wait, did you say 2 minutes?
I mean, y'all ain't got the lie to kick it down, okay? All that mess y'all be talking, just lying. And LaMarcus says, you are the foundation, queen. Yes, we are the foundation, but hell, we need y'all to build it. Y'all, we can't do everything now. What y'all for? What's y'all job? If we got to build the foundation and the teaching and the raising the nation, like what's y'all purpose?
Our job is to provide, protect, and decide.
Yes, and I think that's a good amount of the foundation, right? If you ain't providing, how the hell we building a foundation? And Blessings Weaver Bird, how are you? He says good afternoon. He says Hologi. No, I jacked that up from South Africa. All right. Hey. And then Tawana says the number of missing Black women and girls in the Black community has risen over the years. I think years since a certain group of people put their businesses in our communities. Yeah, you know what? And the other thing is this too. I don't know how true it is, because I know statistics are kind of fudged here and there. But they said that it is the number one snatchers or kidnappers of Black women and children are Black men. Now, again, I don't know how true that is. But they say the ones that buy and participate in the illicit activities like sex and stuff with the women and children are white men. Now, I did see a video of some Africans. I don't know what part of Africa they were from, but they perched their van up into a black neighborhood, and they attempted to steal 3 children, and the people in the neighborhood just happened to be watching. And when I tell you, they put a whooping on those dudes and called the police and all of that. But the lady, she was very upset, and she said they were going to snatch 3 of our babies had we not been watching. And she's like, we watch as our children. Now, you wasn't going to take our children, but they had a van and tried to snatch up 3 of their babies. Just can you imagine you looking for your child? Let's say they weren't siblings, or even if they were. You waiting for your child and 3 kids come up missing and you not knowing where your babies are. You know, the media ain't going to talk about that. They might put a little blip in the media, but they're not going to give it no coverage. And the kids just missing. And these dudes, you know, tell them what they doing with these people's babies, trying to snatch their babies.
Yeah, you know, here's the funny thing. You know, we are so conditioned to watch American news and stuff, which is great. But that story you just talked about, you can go on YouTube, Al Jazeera TV, and they do major stories when it comes to the sex trafficking and things like that. And they actually did a story, I saw it 3 weeks ago, where this girl was just snatched up, and she's calling, and they put her in the sex slavery thing, and they brought her all across like 2 or 3 different African countries, and her family finally went and got her and paid the thing and got her out of there. And she was a young girl and came back. But Tawana, I just want to say this too. Not only are you right about what you just said, did you also notice that when a certain group puts their restaurants in our neighborhoods, our cats and dogs end up missing as well? The number of cats and dogs in the neighborhood go down. And I'm not saying that's what's happening, but I'm just saying that's a coincidence that when that happens, it happens statistically.
I don't know about no statistics, but okay, interesting. And Robin, he says, did you see the video of the Asian dude walking up to the white dude at a White Lives Matter rally, yelling, "Why do you hate me?" The white dude cussed him out. I didn't see it, but damn. And Mr. Fuclo says, Dr. Joseph Laurie said, we found for C/R's to change America from wrong to right, not to integrate everything black into white. Yeah. And Harold, how you doing? Black first all day. And LaMarcus says, I love y'all show, and we love you too. And Marcus says, when it comes to black women and black children, depending on black men to step up, you need only put a 30-year-old black woman and a 16-year-old black woman in front of 35-year-old black man at the Black Power rally. His focus will go back where it was before the rally. And Jonelle says, black people do not practice racism. That has always been the white nation religion, as is put to practice mainly by them and those who are miseducated by them. Black people's issue is a programmed self-hate. Once we awaken to our self-love will defend us against racism and empower us. Absolutely, because as you always say, you protect what you love. And there's a lot of things you won't let go on that go on now if you love yourself and you love your people. So absolutely, but racism is not our deal. That's like not our problem to solve, right? Despite what Common says, we just need to extend the olive branch of love to the people that hate us. It's like, huh? And Robin says, Ariel, exactly. Let's see my comments. It says exactly like the video of the white lady charging at the cops with a knife, and they're pleading with her. She even stabbed their dog before they shot her, and they didn't kill her. Yeah, they not gonna do that to them, and they get away with a lot. And O says, we live in a dysfunctional society and culture. We have their names, we have their religion, and worship their God. They enforce genocide while we sing, we shall overcome. Yep, and we believe that one day it's gonna by and by, pie in the sky, it's gonna get better. Things gonna change for us Negroes around here. Nah. And Foucault says, for 50 years, MLK's I Have a Dream speech was used to dilute the Black community and have you focusing on acceptance instead of Black empowerment. This is why we're in the condition we're in today. Yeah. And a lot of people, the older generation, you can't tell them nothing about that. Oh, yes, Martin Luther King, he wanted us to be a part of the system. And okay. And look how that's worked for us.
Yeah, before us, there was no Black representation. Now we got Black representation. What good is having Black representation if they don't do nothing?
Right. And Marcus says, when I said we will stop, I meant what will it take for us to see this shit is not going to get better or change? When do we stop talking about changing what is not going to change and start focusing on other alternatives? Is there a day and time for saying we done tried to better ourselves in a storm that does not allow it? Well, that's what we're doing here. Iron sharpens iron. That's what we're doing here. So it has to start somewhere, right? And then I also ask people, are you doing that at home? Are you doing that with your children, your parents, your neighbors? Because that's where it starts. I think too much we try to get on this national, international platform. I'm going to go out there and change the world. And he say, okay, before you do that, have you changed your household? Well, I was going to get back to it, but I'm out there with the cape on for everything. That's not how it works. You got to start within what's close to you.
Yeah. One great military leader when I was in the military said, you want to change the world? Start with fixing your bed when you get up in the morning.
That's it. Start there. Yes, Pam, 2 minutes. They just be lying. I'm going to give you a good time. Like 2 minutes. I mean, maybe that's a good time to you. And Angela says, don't call the cops if you don't want an armed response. I was never taught to call the cops. My mom always said a third party just causes confusion. I agree. Yeah, right. You would think calling the cops is it should just be a super last resort.
Right. But, a lot of people, Angela, you get that confused with snitching. OK, they don't even know what the definition of snitching is. If you're in my neighborhood and you're doing a crime to my neighbor and I call the police, that doesn't make me a snitch. I'm a snitch because me and you both robbed the house and then I told on you. See, and they get that confused. Why am I going to let you, mess up the neighborhood and bring the property value down and continue with gentrification when, because it seems like the narrative of don't call the police has gotten to the fact, well, yeah, this guy's robbing or killing or, doing something in the neighborhood he shouldn't be doing and we shouldn't call the police no matter what. No, I'm going to call the police on your ass.
I just want y'all to see this comment, okay? I want you to see it as I read it. It's a man's job to build and provide. Men are the maintainers of women.
You're damn right. And that's why I put in my 45 minutes.
I mean, not that I have any personal knowledge of that, but I know you was putting a lot on it, okay? I'm just saying. Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely right. Y'all maintain us. We make it easy for us to do that, but we out there with 2 and 3 gigs trying to be the foundation. That's not how it works.
Right, but like why have women bought into that? Why? And it's funny because there was a story on Good Morning America where the white woman she was just so aggressive about how women are being discriminated. They don't get equal this and they don't get equal that and, blah, blah, blah. Right. And this is a white woman saying this. Yet she's married at home. You know what I mean? It's like this movement is for women, white women to free themselves from white men. There really wasn't a problem between black men and women because black men never had the power other than within our community to deal with our women.
All of that is true, but it's not exclusively true. It's not the reason why black men and women are in dysfunctional states. It's one of the reasons, it's not the reason. Because I always hear people say, oh, well, black women got rid of their man for a welfare check. Negro, if you bring it home more than that welfare check, what sense do that make for me to get rid of you for a funky $400, $300, whatever it is, dollars and some food stamps? If you bringing that home and then somewhere, I'm going to put you out the house for. Like, make it make sense. I know that wouldn't be the case for me. If my man is maintaining a house, I'm not going to have no worker all up in my business asking me who I'm doing and how much I'm making it. Is that is that a new pair of socks you got? No, that it don't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I get women come up in here, they don't want to leave.
Right, there you go. See, and I know it ain't the 45 seconds, but maybe it's something else. I mean, you said 40. Oh, see, and Sacks Up Your Life, how you doing? He says, I'm not sure if anyone has already suggested this in the chat, but our American brothers and sisters need to police ourselves. Yeah, we discussed it, but we do need to police ourselves, hold each other accountable. Absolutely. Angela, how you doing? He says, you think so? I think there's some truth to it. So maybe you respond to somebody else. And Jonelle says, it's true. some dumb Africans and dumb blacks are involved in the trafficking of black people. Oh, so yeah, you talk about what I said. Yeah, that's just what I read. That statistically speaking, that they say it is black men. Because I mean, you think about it as a black woman or a black girl. If your black man, I'm saying black man, that because we're black people, come up to you, hey girl, you might have a conversation with him. So you're probably more trusting of him than if somebody else who they're stealing the girls for, the women for. If they came up to it, probably like, hey, you need to get away from me. So I can see, and it sounds like the men who are doing that are paid handsomely to snatch they women and children off the street into the human trafficking, sex trafficking trade. So yeah. And D. Lou, how you doing? He says, I know, he said an Asian place, I think, that buys stray dogs for $12 and the homeless people around. Oh.
Now, you guys, don't get it twisted. In Asia, dogs and cats,
right,
that is part of their diet in some of those Asian countries. So for us, it's weird, but for them, it's not. But what I'm saying is, you go in those restaurants, you might want to question what kind of meat you're eating.
Yeah, because in some places, eating cows and chickens are, is not the thing to do. So, it just depends on where you're from. And Pam says, I wish we could raise our own money and put it in a kitty to use for our people, a type of Black community funding, and build from there. Use the money to nation build. Wishful thinking. Yeah, I agree.
Well,
but,
Pam, well, Pam, remember they had FEMA when everybody got messed up down there? And I'm not saying, I'm just making a joke here. What did our people do? They took that money, went to the strip club. Some of them bought this and they bought that. I mean, I wish it, something like that would work. But until we get disciplined and really get on code to what we need to do to better ourselves, there's always going to be those people that are going to go left field with it.
Yeah, and I was actually looking for something really, really quick. Where did it go? Because I want to actually get the right. Okay, here we go. So I have been sending funds. I can't even remember how long. It's been years to Muhammad's holy temple. And that's nation building. They are saving money at the Nation of Islam to build. And I mean, they are already building and stuff, but, to build for Black people. So there are things that you can do. And it's called Muhammad Holy Temple Economic Blueprint, to be exact. So, and maybe Jonelle, you could put that up there. People are interested in that. And Mr. Fuclo says, Riverside, California, an elderly Asian woman walking her dog was stabbed to death by a white woman. Yes, I remember. I saw that in the news. But CNN, Fox, ABC, MSNBC are all silent while Juju Chan want to blame Black folks for Asian hate. Yeah, and that just was like a quick second in the media, but we see images of Black people attacking Asians all over the place. But yeah, I'm from Riverside, so right. Yeah, I did see the story.
Yeah, but Mr. Fuclo, why did they do that? You blame everything and all your problems on Black people, and you get a bill plus a financial compensation. It was a big money grab, and it was also a bill to protect them. And so now they have wholesale rights to outright karate chop your ass and defend themselves without any kind of legal status. Now they have legal status to do that, to defend themselves in regards to almost like self-policing.
Oh, yeah. And that's what we're actually going to talk about. So we might have to table that over till Sunday. And Robin says, oh, my cats and dogs disappear. Randall says, what happened to Blacks coming together with the NFAC and buying property in Africa? Well, they have a way of silencing people. And that's what I understand is going on with the NFAC with what's his name? Grandmaster. Yeah. So it sounds like he can't say a whole lot due to him being arrested. So I guess we just have to stay tuned for that. And I'm going to get to these comments. And Jonelle says, right, if we're so racist, how can everybody take our Black economics where we live and not be harmed, nor the businesses, and they get rich while not even living where we live, doing nothing for us in appreciation for making them wealthy? We are engulfed in bloodsuckers and merchants of death. Yep. Marcus says, the idea of a better America for us is never. We have no fight because we have no bottom. When I see how 5 of us fight the power and 50 of us show up to show out, we are never ready in numbers that matter, with solutions that are not hype, but with grown solutions that change things for real. A lot of people are just getting out of here. Dave Chappelle is leaving. Steve Harvey has left.
Marcus is packing his bags right now.
Yeah, Stevie Wonder is leaving if he hasn't already left. So yeah, I hear you. Then you also say, oh no, Ariel says Don's scared to tell y'all family, but them Chinese people be taking them cats and dogs out of our neighborhoods like there are some kind of vet pet company, then cooking them and selling them back to us. I wouldn't doubt it. I saw a video of a dude running in there with some skint up cats and dogs inside the restaurant talking about this is what y'all eating, and the people still stuck standing there like, really? I'm like, what's wrong with y'all? And Sacks Up Your Life, it says, we need to try, it says 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I hear from heaven. Yep, that is scripture.
Okay, but why are white people having heaven here on earth?
Yeah, and really just for the sake of time, those are conversations we need to have. And I always say too, well, if slave masters were teaching slaves that you should pray and God Almighty, and I believe in God, so I don't want you guys to believe that. If they were taught and were praying to the same God, then why did their God that they taught us listen to them and we were still enslaved and going through all the horrors? Because I just feel like, why didn't God help us? If we were going by what they taught us, why didn't they help us? Because of course we also know they taught us the parts of the Bible that says you got to obey your master and just wait and endure all this hell now. And when you get to heaven, so they taught us to take it too, like turn the other cheek. And we still, talking that way, not to discredit what you said, but, just kind of piggybacking off of what Donovan said. And Ariel says, shout out to the solid brother Jonel Muhammad. Oh yeah, he'd be on it. And Marcus says, maybe I'm saying it wrong, twice, but when do we stop doing everything we are currently doing as a people? When do we say this is not going to ever get better and focus on what is next? What is next after 155 years of proof that this is never getting better, no matter who tries what? Well, I think we still have to try, but Marcus Garvey has said it. There's some people who don't want to try. Some people who don't want to do better. We got to stop focusing on them. They'll come along if, they're ready or whatever. But for right now, we're talking to the wrong people. We got to talk to the people who want to do something. Yeah, things have to get so bad, which it is getting bad, to where people want to leave. Angela says, Donovan, too damn funny. They don't want to leave. Right. He's up telling all them stories. Robin says, let's see here. I'm going to get to these comments. He says, okay, Jonel Muhammad, I'm telling you, be on it. And Tawana says, yes, I have noticed that house pets started y'all wilding, disappearing. There were also wild rabbits around my home that went missing last year. I live across the street from a restaurant. When I was in the Philippines, as a military brat, whatever, you were not allowed to leave your dogs and animals outside at night because they end up missing. And that was in the Philippines. So Carly, you say South Africa, maybe you're replying to somebody. And Jonelle says women buy into that because women love power and empowerment and have been blinded to their own power, which is the power. As they say, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. Holy Mary, the mother of God. Think about that. This world feared enlightened women rooted in self-birthing supreme beings. But that's another subject. Listen to the Honorable Minister Farrakhan message called How to Give Birth to a God and More. I have listened to that, and it is a must listen to. I absolutely agree with you. And Carla says, so this is what's going on in America. Oh, because you're in South Africa? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, it's a lot going on over here. Lots. I guess here we go. So you can look into the blueprint, the economic blueprint there. If you're so interested in, if they ask for less than 5 cents a day or something like that. So, it's doable. And Marcus says, I don't see a better America for Black people, but I believe if we say that, we can get a better Black people in America, because we're looking like 2 TV shows. One is a low rating drama and the other one is a comedy. Well, damn. Right. Well, I agree with Marcus, but Marcus, if you haven't been noticing, they are replacing us. They're letting the Africans in, they're letting the Jamaicans in, they're letting the the Asians, of course, in, and now they're letting the Mexicans in. So the blueprint now, I understand it, you understand it, Dimitri understands it, Jonelle understands it, and a lot of you guys understand it.
They do not have any plans for us to be here within the next 20 or 30 years. We will be either a permanent underclass.
We already are.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Or we got to get the hell up out of here because they're going to replace us with new people that are coming here. As you see, there was a African candidate up in Minnesota, or is it Wisconsin? He's talking about he wants to get rid of Black History Month. This is an African.
You said what it got to do with him?
Yeah, but you know what I mean? But he wants to get rid of it, get rid of the ADOS people in our history. They don't want us here, and we're going to be replaced.
Which is sad. And Pam says, I will never patronize another Asian business. You and me both. You and me both. My daughter wanted some crab legs like 2 weeks ago, and I didn't know who was in the restaurant. I said, we're going to go in there, and if it's them people up in there, well, we're not going. You know, I wasn't going to eat them.
Yeah, see, a lot of people don't know that, and you know, you're not paying attention to it. When an Asian restaurant moves into your neighborhood, your animal body count seems to be lower. Have you guys noticed? Like, where's that cat? You know, that used to be in the alley walk. You know what I mean? You just notice there's not a lot of stray animals walking around. And you know the city isn't giving the dog catcher thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars to up his budget. So where are these animals going?
Lord have mercy. But we walked in there and I was like, yep, let's go. And we didn't go. And she's like, well, you know, you talking about all of them. I said all of them. We ain't spending no money with none of them. Okay? None of them. So, period. And then Jonelle says, here's the math. How can you have injustice with the same God? Yeah, like what's really going on here? So they doing something we weren't taught to do, right? And we just simply aren't doing. And he says, all praises due to Allah. Thank you. Striving. Yes, big ups to you. And I also say, I can't make you a slave if I rep God, Jesus. Clearly, we are under false doctrine. As Jesus said, you shall know the truth reigns. Yep. And Pivot Shot, how are you? Great to see you on here. Says, great show as usual. Thank you. And Pam, he says, I believe this is part of the reason why we have the leash law for animals. Y'all tripping. Y'all tripping. Sacks Up Your Life says, pink people are having heaven on earth because we turned away from the Creator. We are the descendants of blood of the Israelites, and our Israelite brothers and sisters turned away from our Father. So I understand. So what I've been hearing anyway. And Pam say they may not be here in the next 20 years either. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? True. And Jonelle says they're replacing us, but can they afford? In truth, woke people can't do what a slave-minded people do. So where will they get free economics from given by a whole nation within their nation? Right, because we do their work. It's true. Right. I mean, I know slavery is over, but we're still on the plantation in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, but you know, I look at with the global economy rather than the domestic economy that kept us here. Now they're exploiting other countries like in India and in China and all these places that have massive populations, and that's what it seems that they're doing. They've gone to the next level, which is a global discrimination and people going to a people and grabbing them.
Yep. And then Pam said the Bible is a true book. We're just taught wrong. Very possible. Very possible. And Randall says, y'all read the book of Obadiah, Old Testament, and you'll feel a lot better. Okay. And Johans, how you doing? He says, COVID is shining a light on a lot of chicanery. You are not lying. Jonelle says, America is in a cycle of conflict and self-destruction. And y'all have to do all you have to do is awaken and work for self as a nation within it. That's it. And that's the last comment. And so we thank y'all so much for being here with us. Almost 2 hours. We agreed to do 2 hours. It went by fast, to be honest with you. But we thank you so much. And again, if you guys can and will, there's pay a Cash App and PayPal, all kind of stuff. $1, $2, whatever. Every little bit helps. We thank you in advance for that. And so, and Pam, you say, as far as I'm concerned, they can all go to Mars and don't come back. I was trying to go there, but I heard they already there. So, and yeah, peace unto you as well, Jonelle. And Mark said, when you see Africans coming from Africa to come join these whites, he most likely was an African that did not belong in Africa. We have a lot of Will Johnsons out here. Donovan, you are right, sir. I want even buy a new socks because it might delay my move. So you're saving all your money. He says, I wish it was a word for much. I hate it here and how Oh, I bet I want to leave. Yeah, Marcus is already gone mentally. And Gerard says, what? I just got here. Yeah, we've been here almost 2 hours. Can you hear my voice? I sound like Marge Simpson. Yes, see y'all at 7. And Rick says, I was in Belize this week, and Asians have all the convenience stores. Damn, over there too, especially in these resort areas. Control the food, control the people. Damn. Anyway, Donovan, take us out of here. And Marcus, thank you for everything that you do behind the scenes. And thank you to YouTube and Facebook for you guys being here and providing your commentary. It is much appreciated. So, Donovan, what you say?
Yes. Hey, I just want to say, you guys, we will continue Free Flow Friday on the War Zone tonight. So tune in at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, and we will see you guys then. In the meantime, Minyana.
Oh, and don't forget the Demetri K Show here on YouTube, obviously, a Sunday at 5 o'clock Central Time. And we're going to pick up on Donovan's topic as far as where are our bills, piggyback off of the Asian bill that has been passed through the Senate, ready to go through the House, and ready for Biden to sign. So we're
actually, it's already been through the House. They're waiting for Biden to sign it.
There you go. So it's
been approved.
Wow. All right, y'all. So we'll see y'all in a little bit. Peace.